The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has at least two objectives. One is to displace the United States as the world's leading superpower, and two, persecute a spiritual group in China. And that's part of the reason why it uses these influence operations on platforms such as YouTube. So we have data from Google's policing agency, TAG, that shows that these Dragon Bridge accounts that are linked to the CCP that spread propaganda have been proliferating on YouTube, and Google has knocked down over 197,000 of them. So that's a lot. That's between 2022 to the first quarter of this year. And when you dive deeper into the data, you start to see that each year this trend is increasing. For example, in 2022, Google took down about 50,000 of them, but that has only gone up to over 60,000 in 2024. So that trend is increasing. And I'll just give you an example on this. So first of all, it's very bad that the CCP is using YouTube to spread its lies while Google is doing the work of knocking them down. Some of the good news is that a lot of these accounts are just viewed as troll accounts. They don't pick up that much traction, maybe 100 views or less. Now, at the same time, there is research by Rutgers that suggests that YouTube has a pro-China bias when it relates to things like the persecution that's happening in China and human rights abuses. And China analysts have said that while these particular types of videos, for example, from a vlogger, they may be promoted by YouTube, even though that vlogger is repeating propaganda lines from the current regime leader in China. So that said, you look at 2025 and you see that just in that first quarter, that's about 20,000 or so of these accounts that have been taken down by Google. They're on track to reach a record if they continue at that rate. And when you look further into the data, you see that these Dragon Bridge accounts hit a record when they were down, they were being taken down at a record of 11,000 plus in just January of this year. So that's a record high. It just shows that the CCP is very aggressive and it's continuing to use YouTube and Blogger to push out these fake accounts, right? So back to one of the goals that we mentioned that the CCP has of persecuting a spiritual group in China. What the CCP does is that it uses YouTube, an American company, to export its repression internationally of Falun Gong. Falun Gong is a peaceful spiritual movement based on the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. And some of these Falun Gong practitioners are Shenyun dancers. This is a performing arts company that shows China before communism, and part of what it does is it shines a light on the persecution of Falun Gong in China. So that's information from the Falun Dafa Information Center cited by whistleblowers that show that the CCP is targeting Shenyun for that particular reason because it exposes the persecution. So that's one of the ways that the CCP uses YouTube, just these fake propaganda accounts, but that's not all. There's what's been called a more sophisticated approach in which the CCP will find established influencers, Western people that have a big following on YouTube, and they'll pay them money to disseminate their propaganda materials. I'll give you an example. Tim Pool, he's a prominent U.S. political commentator. He says that some random unknown account emailed him and offered him $200 to promote and share a video disparaging Falun Gong. He wouldn't take the money and wouldn't do it, saying, what is this? But that just goes to show that the CCP will use those means to try to spread its lies. And our China analyst, David Zhang, he's the host of China Insider with David Zhang, he shines a light on this, saying that the CCP has manipulated the public opinion space, especially on YouTube, in the past 2-3 years to really focus on using foreign faces and not people from China to try to legitimize their claims. So this is happening, and it's very important for people on Blogger and especially YouTube to make sure that the content they're consuming isn't procured by some paid propagandists.